religion's peace and harmony of life and meeting the challenges they give us. At the very beginning, I would like to play a song sung by K.J. Yesudas, and it tells you actually the slow death of human relationships based on. This song actually depicts our own situation in the last 4 decades at least. So many incidents of religious violence, death, finding it so difficult actually to rehabilitate people, so much of trauma. So it is really immeasurable. It looks like that, it is one side of the story. But actually, it's all being carried by the newspapers. It's not my own concoction. All the events that we see in the last 3-4 decades relating to religion, religious violence and conflicts in various places in India especially, they just reflect the pain and suffering of people. I am just showing certain pictures. The pictures themselves will tell you the stories. Just a kind of a courtesy warning. Some pictures are very horrible. But the thing is, these are facts in India. All came in the newspapers, journals, things like that. So much of debates have been taking place on TV channels. So you find actually after all these calamities, after these religious conflicts, it requires 10 times more actually to rectify, to rebuild, to rehabilitate, to reintegrate individuals in communities and in society. This is an obvious fact. It also needs 10 times more to re-establish peace in the community, peace in the neighborhood. It certainly leads us actually to look into ourselves for a soul search, for self-introspection, I believe. You see the ethnic cleansing that happened from 85 to 95, 1 decade. So much of people exodus from Kashmir, and then almost 62,000 people, families from Kashmir. You find the demolition of Babri Masjid on the 6th of December, supposed to be known as the Black Sunday, in 1992, over 2,000 deaths. You find the Bombay blast with the 317 deaths has been mentioned, recorded in 1993. And you find anti-Christian violence in both in Gujarat as well as in Orissa in 1998, in 1999. Of course, the death of the great missionary, Graham Stein, and so many others. And you find the attack in the parliament in 2001 with the 9 deaths. You find the Gujarat genocide in 2002, over 2,000 people who died. And anti-reservation violence in 2006. And the Orissa violence in 2007, 2008. With the 45 deaths, so many people and homes burnt, churches burnt, etc., etc. So you find the Mumbai attacks finally in 2008, known as the 26/11. And there are so many other incidents actually after 2008, I cannot enumerate them, though I have data. But there had been these incidents of violence, deaths, death tolls, property damage, identity cleansing, evacuation, etc. it is not so easy actually to trace the reasons for these things, although we can always say a few reasons which you may all agree. Of course, the main or the important reason we normally find is a kind of a fight between social groups or by the social groups and organizations with probably immature ideologies or wrong ideologies or incorrect ideologies on insufficient ideologies, fundamentalists. It is possible. It is mainly for the sake of social as well as religious power, political power, gain, control of power, and for success and prominence. These are some of the reasons that we normally find. Of course, there is always a kind of group of people mythifying, also spreading hatred, hate speech. Even now, hate speech is really prevalent everywhere. You find the media also not really objective. It plays a very wrong role, many times a wrong role. And then I can always include that retributive justice is not at all happening. Professor Radhakrishnan, I think he was saying, if there is a legal justice, it is a miracle. So you find more of both retributive justice as well as restorative justice. They are not actually as we expect. And we also find a certain conservative and fundamentalist attitude and trends among us, always living in the past or neglecting the others, unupdated, becoming self-righteous, outright rejection of others. Fundamentalism, the very key point is that you just reject others and nothing else. So which means also kind of an exclusion, that you exclude all others, that you are right. And you also find so much of imaging and stereotyping people and groups, including religious communities also. You ask Christians are kind of drunkards, wine drinkers, the converters. So the Islamists and the Muslims, and you always know that, they are the terrorists. So these are all some of the stereotyped images that we also keep on spreading. But I really do not know how many neighbors, Muslim neighbors, are terrorists. Just in your own apartment, just around you, in the neighborhood, how many are terrorists? Are good people. So we also take risks actually in relating to people, because there is so much of prejudice, doubts, and suspicion also is there among us. So you find there are ways actually for justice and peace to flourish. There are ways. So we need to find some ways actually, because we cannot live peacefully unless we relate to others and we take risks. We need to take risks. That is a common practice actually in all our lifestyle there, in our families, in the apartments. We have to live with others and nothing else, you see. So I would find that there are ways which the government has to do and the government has to encourage. What are they? Especially with regard to peace policies and announcements, things like that. Encouraging people, especially the NGOs. This morning also people were talking about that. Encouraging NGOs actually for peace activities. Abiding by constitutional laws, respecting the fundamental rights, and also trying to understand and practice the preamble of the Constitution. That is our Veda. That is our Bible. Equality, liberty, justice, and fellowship, and or fraternity. These are the four key values actually which we need to practice. This is the summary of the Vedas. This is the summary of the Bible. And this is the Indian Veda, Indian constitutions. I would say that we have to educate our own children, especially about the preamble of the constitutions. Of course, in the schools also, as well as in the college. And especially with regard to the non-governmental organizations, they need to be bearers of peace. One example that has been mentioned And I really vouch and subscribe to this Vishnu Mohan Foundation. Somebody said that Swamiji is not Advaita Swamiji, but Peace Swamiji this morning. I really liked that. He stands for peace. Otherwise, this gathering is not possible. People coming from various religions, various sectors, various caste communities, language communities, coming together actually to talk about peace and justice and reconciliation. Peace and justice all towards reconciliation. Reconciliation is also a means actually to establish peace. So at this time I really make my pranam to Swamiji for inviting me also. He very nicely he says that you are part of the Vishnu Mohan family. No, he says that. I enjoyed that. So as I said that, religious leaders, whether they are small or big, to the extent or to the headship of Pope, for instance, the highest authority for the Catholic Church, highest authority. He went to G7. He talked in COP22. He has issued a whole document, Gaudeum Deum, whole document running to several pages, especially on climate change. He is so updated. I was really surprised that he went with this, 87 year old, and then having a stick with him, and then going by the wheelchair. Is the most traveled Pope, more than 60 countries. In all the countries, wherever he went, actually, most of the countries, he held inter-religious conversation, inter-religious dialogue with the religious leaders. So I always feel that, by the way, he is also a Jesuit. He is the first Jesuit Pope. I don't think nobody else will be chosen hereafter because of the kind of a Jesuit Pope he is acting, It is very difficult. So I also feel proud I am a Jesuit. That is a kind of a Loyola College product. So Jesuit means many people may not understand. Loyola College is an institution run by the Jesuits. I am coming also from an institution, Arulanandar College. And one thing that I just want to say that the role of the media, oh my God, just before the election, during the election, after the election, have you watched the debates? Have you watched the debates on so many TVs? People vie with each other, scold each other. And they need actually to be really objective and not one-sided or biased. And I think if they are not one-sided and biased, they will lose market. And they will lose business and they will lose money. That's the only thing. And I would like to say that it's citizens' responsibility is there. So we cannot actually throw the responsibility only to the government or non-governmental organizations or role of media, things like that. But we should also have our own responsibilities, especially with regard to having certain attitudinal change. I think a number of professors, starting with the Honorable Governor, was saying something about these things. Even Swamiji mentioned about no anyatva. No, you are not an anya. You are not a stranger. You are not saying you are a friend, but the thing is, you are our own. That is very important, I feel. So we need actually to see that we are peace builders, especially in the apartments, especially where we live and in the neighborhood. And we should actually promote a sense of community through celebrations, healthy relationships, things like that. So you find some happy images here, just totally opposite to whatever that you saw. This is also possible, and that we are actually responsible to make it happen. Nurturing relationships across boundaries, religious boundaries, promoting interreligious activity. I was so happy that Dr. Farid, Sadaf Farid, just the speaker just before me from online. She was dealing about, what she is doing in the university with regard to interfaith dialogue and harmony. That is something very, very important that I see. So, promoting interreligious activities, religious leaders holding dialogue. So, I have just picked up some pictures in the Google Images and then put it together. All the popes, for instance, from John Paul II, Benedict XVI, and Pope Francis, all these people have been engaged in this one. The latest, which means actually latest in the sense that in 2002, the Vatican Secretariat for Interreligious Dialogue initiated Jain Christian dialogue. In India, I am the only Christian priest who has done MPhil and PhD in Jainology in the Department of Jainology in Madras University. So I was called to Delhi actually to speak on this Jain Christian dialogue and what can bring people together of both the communities. So it was a very interesting and first time they initiated from Vatican level. So I would say that unity in diversity is the Taragai Mandiram. Taragai Mandiram, that's the mantra for us, for India, for us to be together, united, and that we stand. And as I mentioned, small little things that we can reflect for ourselves individually as well as in our families and groups, saying that we need to not only know but also practice the preamble. We try as much as possible to become inclusive, not to exclude people. That is very important, I feel. Will we exclude a Muslim scholar, a Muslim teacher who teaches science well? Supposing if we need a certain practice or tuition to our own daughter, will we really hesitate to send the daughter or the son to the Muslim science teacher? Will we do that? We won't do that. Rather, we will say, whether he is a Muslim or a Hindu or a Parsi or whoever it is, our child should come very good in marks, especially in science or any other thing. So you send them there. So we have to become accommodative and we have to become inclusive. And it's better to be less and less critical about others. More and more positive about others is good. And we need to be more tolerant, more open persons, stand for objectivity and have good judgment. Seek for truth, things like that. Emotionally, we need to be slow to anger, manage our emotions, not to act on ignorance, things like that. And finally, to engage in healthy relationship with others, to support the cause of justice as well as human rights. The main thing is to seek the truth and to hold people in our own hearts and minds, all of them, all. We should broaden our mind actually to hold all. That is the most important thing I really feel individually. So finally, let us be Indian than anything. So you see, it's a frame that I really like. It's been shown everywhere. So you see Hinduism, the I in Hinduism, N in Jainism, D in Buddhism, I in Sikhism, A in Islam, N in Christianity. They all together make Indian. So this frame I really like. I really wish that we all become like this. Then crossing the boundaries of both caste as well as religion. Thank you very much for giving me this particular opportunity.